So we are about a week into May now, and I have this fabric that I'm pretty sure was like a curtain or something that I got at a thrift store. I picked up like 5 different sheets of these, and I'm going to be turning it into a day dress. I have the sketch right here. And this is just going to be a very simple garment, something that I can just put on when I'm at home and don't really feel like going out, kind of like the dress I'm wearing now. This is very easy to slip on and slip off. That way, if I don't feel like getting dressed up, I still look cute. But I loved the lavender shade of this. It looks a little brown on camera, but this is like a very dusty lavender, and it's super pretty, so I'm really excited for this one. Okay, so for this project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the base pattern and I'm just going to flatten this part out. So we start with the centerpiece, and I am going to trace the entire thing, even though I am going to cut this part. It's always easier to cut pieces off than it is to try and tape them back together. I'm just going to redraw all of these straight lines because I do use that pattern a lot, and so some of the lines are a little wonky. That's okay. I can always remake it. That is a very satisfying noise. So I have added 20 inches for the skirt, and this line right here meets up with the bottom of the armhole. So what I'm going to do is measure all the way to the bottom of the bodice, and then I'm going to do that previous technique that you saw me using on last month's pattern to swing my tape around so that the hem of the skirt will be nice and even. Looks like I can get it to 20 inches as well, which will give me a skirt circumference of 40 inches. Nope, 80 inches. I can't do math. Stop. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this swing unless I stop snagging on everything. I don't want to pop a hole in this. I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Why is this 30 and 7/8? Because of the seam allowance. That's how math works. It's 2 and 3/8. 30 and 3/8. 1, 2, 3/4 is 30 and 1/4. Nope, 30 and 1/8. Still can't do math. This is crooked. Straight down, 30 and 3/8 to 30 and 31 and 1/8. 30 and 3/8. Hey, baby girl. Now it lines up perfectly. So I'm doing a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the sides. That way I can actually install pockets later. Oh, I need to remember to put the notches in. Might be a little harder on this project because it's gonna, it's going to curve when I cinch it with the belt. Then this notch aligns with the notch I already have on my pocket. Hello! I have a baby. I think I'm gonna do the same thing that I did on my last blouse, where I just serge the arm side over, that way I don't have to create bulk with bias tape. So instead of leaving it at 3/8, my usual seam allowance, I'm gonna do this 1/2 inch. And that'll give me a little more to work with when I have it in the serger. So I'm going about 2 inches. You know what, actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring this in an inch. Okay, so if I do that, if I bring it in an inch and then make the strap about 2 inches, so I want it to sit in from the shoulder a little bit. That'd be about 3 inches, which is right here. What are you doing? That might be a little far in. Then, let me see on myself. 4 inches? Yeah, 4 inches down from the neck. Okay, I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but I did freehand a bit of a scoop neckline. Now, initially I did move the sleeve in an inch as I did when I made my tank top, but it didn't make the scoop as wide as I wanted, so I moved that back to where it initially was, and I'm just making this strap about 1.5 inches, and then I just drew a line from where I wanted the scoop to end versus where it begins on the arm, and then I just drew straight lines to intersect each other, and that's how I did my freehand. This came down about 2.5 inches, so you can see I drew a line right there, and then just went in. I can clean it up in just a second. So I noticed a bit of a problem when I actually hung the pattern up on my dress form, and that was this side of the skirt was much longer than the front of it, and it took me a few minutes to figure out why, and that's because I do have trouble thinking in the 3rd dimension. So what I did to fix this was I redrew the base pattern on this form. You can see I kind of Frankensteined everything. And instead of drawing this straight line, which as you can see, once it's placed on the actual physical form, it goes down at a diagonal, whereas the original pattern goes almost completely straight across. It's not perfect because, you know, I can't draw straight lines. But drawing that straight line gave me where it would hit the waist. And so instead of extending the line for the full gown down to the bottom, what I did was I measured this top, will you please focus? I measured from the bottom of the arm side down to the waist, it was about 8 inches. And then I just added that to the 20 inches plus the 3/4 seam allowance to the skirt. And now everything has evened out. Let me back up a little bit. So now instead of this one side drooping down, it is completely level.
Editing Rosie just popping in here to say that I didn't get any recording of me actually tracing out the pattern because this one was so big that I had to do it on the floor and I looked ridiculous. A great part about using this fabric as well is if you look really closely, you can see these little squares that are patterned across it. And this made making the ruffles for both the skirt and the neckline very easy. It was so fast that it actually took me less to do the adornments than it did to do the structural part, which is usually not the case, but it really helped me out big time.
I know it looks a little bit like a potato sack at the moment, but it's not adorned yet. So now we're going to try to transform it into a cute potato sack.
That's it for this week's vlog. I hope you'll all join me next week when we will be finishing up my adorable new potato sack.